Hey everybody, Tim here with today's Star Wars review, part 2 of Season 5 for Clone Wars. So I'm going to kind of do a lot of episodes. I don't know, the way they break these episode, like, story arcs, it's hard to, like, because I just don't want to do 4, but, like, 8's a lot, but whatever. So I think I'm doing 8 this time. So the first little chunk I'm going to do is episodes 10, 11, 12, and 13, Secret Weapons, Sunny Day in the Void, Missing in Action, and Point of No Return. Like, these ones were a little rough. Like, they weren't fantastic, but they weren't bad either. Where it's all about the D Squad, and, like, basically just R2-D2 is with a whole bunch of other droids, and this mini little alien guy who's the colonel, and he just has to, like, lead these droids onto a mission. Like, the first episode, The Secret Weapons, is when we first kind of meet them. Sunny Day in the Void, just them crash landing in the void. Like, it seemed like a really kind of pointless episode. Like, I didn't like that one at all. Missing in Action is the important one. That's the one where they actually find a clone that's out in the middle of nowhere, and his name is Gregor. I don't know, they say it weird. And anyways, Gregor is, like, he has amnesia, and, like, now he's living as, like, a cook and stuff like this, and they actually have to help him get his memory back. And then he, like, supposedly dies in action. Like, he's a very important character without spoiling anything. Like, it's really important to pay attention to him. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. I really, really liked it. And then finally, the last episode, Point of No Return, is probably my favorite, where it's like they turn the ship into a bomb, and we see Tarkin makes his return. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool that Tarkin's in it. And, like, basically they're just going to blow everything up, and it's up to these droids and this mini little colonel who's just a map reader. And I don't know, overall it wasn't a bad group of stories, but it wasn't fantastic either. Like, I don't know, it's weird seeing R2-D2 lead these droids without C-3PO being there, because, like I said, the last time we saw these two go on an adventure, I was like, oh, it's like the droid series from the 80s, but this is just R2-D2, and it's just, I don't know, it was okay, it wasn't great. From there, we go into our next little set of groups. I'm going to do episode 1, because we're going to go back to the premiere. So episode 1, 14, and 15. So just a little trilogy going on this time. It's Revival, Eminence, Shades of Reason, and then Lawless. You know what? I forgot. There's 4. So episode 1, 14, 15, 16. So originally this was the premiere episode, and I don't know why they moved it to the premiere, because it didn't fit there. So this little group is all about Darth Maul, and it's amazing to see him back. Revival is fantastic. Like, it's such a good one. And which is the first episode, which is probably why they moved it to the front. Because it's Maul and Savage, and they, like, try to, like, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily steal, but, like, take over Hondo's little group of guys. And then when Obi-Wan is just dual fighting, it's so good and it's so well done. And he's able to hold his own, because we always see Obi-Wan as, like, this peaceful person, but when he cuts loose, he cuts loose. And then, like, he actually cuts off Savage's arm, and then Maul gets shot in the leg, and you just see all of them. They're just, like, slowly falling apart. And they're like, you know what? Maybe we're not as badass as we thought. The thing that throws me off about this one is the very last line. So, Ian Abercrombie, the original actor who played Palpatine throughout the series, passed away, and they replaced him with Tim Curry, one of my favorite actors. Phenomenal. Very distinctive voice, though. And the very, like, last line that Palpatine has is Tim Curry. Like, the rest is all Ian, and then it's Tim there at the end. And it's like, oh, it's very jarring. And you're like, and it's not, the camera's not even on, well, I mean, it's not a camera, but the shot is not even on Palpatine. You just hear his voice, and you're like, that's weird. So, I don't know, that kind of threw me off a little bit. Eminence, where we go back to Mandalore, we see the Darksaber, Maul and Savage basically are trying to take over Mandalore. Jon Favreau returns as Pre Vizsla, which is fantastic. As we go into this, and then the next episode, Shades of Reason, with Satine, I don't know. The first episode was so badass, but then this one kind of drags a little bit, where, like, Vizsla, like, goes against Maul. So, like, at first they're working together, but now they're against each other. Maul kills Vizsla, so Maul is now in charge of Mandalore. the planet Mandalore, which makes him the Mandalore. I don't know how Mandalore works, like with their whole thing. Like, I don't really understand it. And let me finish this. Episode 16, Lawless, where we see Satine and Death Watch trying to work together, and Jedi can't get involved because it's a neutral planet, and Obi-Wan and Maul fight again, Satine is killed. This is like the first time where we actually see Palpatine as Sidious, where he's just like, ready my ship. And they go, and Palpatine just kills Savage, and he's like, okay, now that that's done, if you can't do something right, do it yourself. And then once again, Tim Curry kind of has the last line, and it's really awkward as he's like shocking Darth Maul. So I want to pause here real quick. That's the end of the reviews. I'm really confused about Mandalore, like, because I know a little bit from the original series with Boba Fett, the prequels with Jango Fett, watching the Clone Wars, watching Rebels, watching the Mandalorian TV show, and Mandalore just seems like this weird enigma where nobody can really get it right. Because, for one, the fact that they're neutral, it's like, I thought Mandalorians were like the Klingons of Star Wars. Like, they just want to battle, they just want the glory, they just want the pride. And whereas them being neutral doesn't really make sense, them having Satine be in charge doesn't really make sense. And then, like, especially once we get to the Mandalorian TV show, and it's like, oh, we're not allowed to remove our helmets, which, okay, maybe that's just that particular clan that doesn't remove their helmets. But still, like, I don't know, the whole Mandalorian thing just really, really confuses me. So I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think. Maybe those, because I'm not really big into Star Wars. Like, I'm just kind of watching it and looking at it. So I need one of those, like, expert opinions to kind of educate me. So I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know, and I'll see you guys next time for part 3 of Season 5.